My wife looked at me with pure contempt and said, "You were a great starter husband, Calvin, but I'm ready for the upgrade now." Those words still echo in my head 3 years later. My name is Calvin Morrison, and I'm 39 years old. I learned the hardest lesson about love and money the day Emily inherited $12 million and decided I wasn't part of her new life plan. Betrayal by someone you built a life with cuts deeper than any physical wound, especially when they throw away 11 years of marriage the second money gives them options. Emily didn't just leave. She systematically destroyed me in the divorce, taking everything that mattered while making sure I understood exactly how worthless she believed I was. I spent 3 years rebuilding from nothing while she burned through her inheritance with spectacular speed and devastating consequences. When I found her broken and begging on the street, I faced a choice that would define what kind of man I truly was. This is a story about justice, consequences, and the karmic price of cruelty. But let me start from the beginning. Before I go any further, let me know in the comments where in the world you are watching from, and make sure to subscribe because tomorrow I will share a story you don't want to miss. I was finishing up paperwork in my home office on a Thursday evening when Emily burst through the door. Her phone was clutched in her hand like a winning lottery ticket, and her eyes were wide, almost manic. "Calvin," she said, her voice shaking. "Calvin, oh my God. Uncle Gerald died." I stood up immediately, reaching for her. Gerald Whitlock had been her favorite uncle, the guy who always remembered birthdays, who'd loaned us money for our first house down payment. "Em, I'm so sorry. Are you okay? When did—" "He left me everything." She cut me off, her tone shifting to something I didn't recognize. "His entire estate. $12 million, Calvin. $12 million. I blinked, processing. Wow, that's incredible. I mean, I'm sorry about Gerald, but we're rich." She wasn't crying, wasn't mourning. Her face was flushed with something that looked almost predatory. "Do you understand what this means? We never have to worry about money again. I never have to—" She stopped herself. "Never have to what?" She looked at me then, really looked at me, and I saw something in her eyes I'd never seen before. Contempt. "I never have to settle anymore." The word hit me like a physical blow. Settle? What the hell does that mean? It means exactly what it sounds like. Emily crossed her arms, and suddenly the woman I'd been married to for 11 years was a stranger. "Let's be honest, Calvin. I married you when I was 26 and didn't know any better. You were safe, stable. But safe and stable doesn't exactly scream success, does it? I've built a solid career as a mid-level logistics manager." She actually laughed. "You make $68,000 a year, Calvin. That's adequate. That's paying bills and maybe saving for a vacation if we're lucky. That's not the life I want anymore." I felt anger rising in my chest, hot and sharp. "The life you want? We built this life together. Every decision was a compromise." Her voice went cold. "Every vacation was to some budget destination. Every dinner out was at moderately priced restaurants. Every choice was about being sensible. Well, I don't have to be sensible anymore. So what are you saying?" I stepped toward her, my voice hardening. "You hit the jackpot and suddenly I'm not good enough?" "You were never good enough." The words came out flat, matter of fact. "I just didn't have options before, now I do." "You're unbelievable." I shook my head, fury replacing the initial shock. 11 years, Emily. 11 years of marriage. I supported you through grad school. I worked overtime when your boutique was struggling. I was there for every— "And I'm grateful," she interrupted, waving her hand dismissively. "Really, you were a great starter husband. But that's what you are, Calvin. A starter. I'm ready for the upgrade now. A starter husband." I repeated the words slowly, letting them sink in. "You know what? You're right about one thing. I was way too good for you. I just didn't realize you were this shallow, this cold, this absolutely worthless as a human being." Her eyes flashed. "Don't you dare." "No, you don't dare." I stepped closer, and she actually backed up. "You think money makes you better than me? You think $12 million changes who you fundamentally are? You're still the same insecure woman who needed constant validation. The same person who spent money we didn't have trying to impress people who didn't care." The only difference now is you have the means to be even more pathetic. Get out. Her voice shook with rage. This is my inheritance. My house now. I want you out. Your house? I laughed, harsh and bitter. I've paid the mortgage for 11 years. And I'll be writing you a check for your half. Consider it a generous divorce settlement. My lawyer will be in touch. She pulled out her phone, already dismissing me. I'm filing tomorrow, and Calvin, don't bother fighting it. I can afford lawyers that will destroy you. You'll take what I offer and be grateful. You really think you're going to just walk away from this marriage with everything? I know I am. She smiled, and it was cruel. Because unlike you, I can afford to win. Now get out of my house before I call the police and tell them you're threatening me. I stared at her for a long moment, memorizing every detail of her face twisted with greed and contempt. You're going to regret this, Emily. Maybe not today, maybe not tomorrow, but you'll regret becoming this person. The only thing I regret is wasting 11 years on you. She turned her back on me. You have until Friday to get your things out. After that, anything left becomes mine. I packed that night and went to stay with Francis. I didn't sleep. I just lay there in his guest room, replaying every moment, every word, feeling the humiliation burn through me like acid. The next morning, I contacted a lawyer to prepare for the divorce proceedings Emily had promised. 2 weeks after I packed my things and left, I sat across a polished conference table from the man who was going to destroy what remained of my life. Brent McGraw looked exactly like what $500 an hour bought you. Expensive suit, perfect haircut, and a smile that made my skin crawl. He slid a document across the table like he was doing me a favor. Mr. Morrison, my client, is prepared to offer you $50,000 as a complete settlement of all marital assets. His voice was smooth, practiced. This is an exceptionally generous offer considering the circumstances. I stared at the number. $50,000 for 11 years of marriage. For every mortgage payment I'd made, every bill I'd paid, every sacrifice I'd endured while Emily pursued her dreams. That's insulting, I said flatly. McGraw's smile didn't waver. Mrs. Whitlock could drag these proceedings out for years, Mr. Morrison. The legal fees alone would bankrupt you. This way, you walk away with something. I'd call that generous. Seth Nguyen, the court-appointed public defender sitting beside me, cleared his throat. He looked exhausted already, and we'd barely started. Calvin, I have to be honest with you. We don't have the resources to fight this. She can outspend us 20-1, maybe more. So I just lose? The rage I'd been holding back for 2 weeks finally broke through. She inherits money that has nothing to do with our marriage, and I lose everything? The house was purchased primarily with your income, Seth said carefully. But she's claiming she contributed equally through domestic labor and supporting your career. And with her legal team, tell her I want the house appraised fairly and my half of the equity. I leaned forward, my voice hard. Tell her I want my car, my personal belongings, and half of the joint savings account that existed before her inheritance. McGraw's smile finally dimmed. Are you certain you want to take that approach? Because I assure you my client is prepared to. I don't care what she's prepared to do. I cut him off. And you can tell Emily directly that if she wants to play hardball, I'll make sure this drags on until she's spent $1 million in legal fees out of spite. I might not be able to win, but I can make damn sure this is as painful as possible for her. The smile disappeared completely. Are you threatening? I'm not threatening anything. I'm telling you what will happen if she doesn't negotiate fairly. But Emily didn't care about fair. She cared about winning. Over the next 6 months, I watched my life get dismantled piece by piece. The house went to Emily. Both cars, mine included, went to Emily. The joint savings account, all $38,000 we'd built together over 11 years, went to Emily. I got my clothes, my laptop and phone. And $75,000 that McGraw presented like it was a lottery jackpot, but barely covered 3 months of Emily's legal bills. Seth apologized every time we met. I'm sorry, Calvin. I really am. But they've got unlimited resources and we just don't. I know, I told him. This isn't your fault. It was Emily's fault. And I made sure I remembered that every single day, especially when her social media posts started showing up. Emily at expensive restaurants. Emily on a yacht in the Caribbean. Emily with her new boyfriend Vince, some slick-looking guy in designer suits who she'd bought a goddamn Porsche for. I'd scroll through the photos late at night in Frances's guest room, feeling the humiliation burn fresh each time. She'd thrown away our marriage and was celebrating like she'd escaped prison. The divorce was finalized exactly 6 months after she'd inherited. I signed the papers in Seth's cramped office, my hands shaking with suppressed rage. "What are you going to do now?" Seth asked quietly. "Move forward," I said, "because I don't have any other choice." I found a one-bedroom apartment in a part of town I'd never lived in before, the kind of place where you heard sirens at night and checked your locks twice. The rent was $800 a month, and it was all I could afford after the settlement. I sat on the floor that first night, surrounded by the few boxes I owned, and felt the full weight of what Emily had done. She hadn't just left me. She'd systematically stripped away everything I'd built, everything I'd worked for, and made sure I understood exactly how powerless I was against unlimited money. But powerless wasn't the same as defeated, and I wasn't done yet. 3 months after the divorce was finalized, I threw myself into work with renewed determination. Daniel Hubert's office sat on the corner of the 3rd floor, all glass walls and a view of the parking lot that somehow still felt prestigious. I'd never been called in before, not in 5 years of working logistics. So when his assistant told me Daniel wanted to see me, my first thought was that I was getting fired. "Calvin, come in." "Sit down." Daniel gestured to the chair across from his desk. "How are you holding up?" "Fine, sir. Is there a problem with the Brennan account?" "Because I can explain." "There's no problem." He leaned back in his chair, studying me. "Actually, I wanted to talk to you about your performance over the last 3 months. You've been different." My stomach dropped. "Different how?" "Better." He smiled. "You're coming in earlier, staying later, taking on projects nobody asked you to handle. The Singapore routing issue that's been plaguing us for 2 years? You solved it in 6 weeks. The inventory system that kept crashing? You rebuilt it from scratch on your own time. I just wanted to contribute more. I heard about your divorce." Daniel's expression softened. "Rough situation, but you didn't let it affect your work. You got better. That's the kind of employee I want to invest in." I didn't know what to say, so I just nodded. "I'm promoting you to Senior Logistics Director," Daniel continued. 20% raise, profit sharing, and I'm moving you to the corporate strategy team. You'll report directly to me." The words took a moment to register. "Sir, thank you. I don't know what to say." "Say yes and keep doing what you're doing." He extended his hand. "Welcome to the big leagues, Calvin." I walked out of his office feeling something I hadn't felt in months. Hope. The promotion changed everything. Suddenly I was making 6 figures, not Emily's inheritance level, but real money. Enough to move out of the shitty apartment. Enough to start rebuilding. But the anger was still there, coiled tight in my chest every time I thought about Emily. Dr. Diane Roberts didn't let me wallow in it. "You're angry," she said during our 3rd session. "That's healthy. You should be angry. But you're letting that anger define you. She destroyed my life. She destroyed the life you had." Dr. Roberts leaned forward. "But you're building a better one. The promotion, the new apartment you mentioned, those are achievements she can't touch, so why are you still giving her power over you?" I thought about that for a long time. Because I want her to regret it. I want her to see what she threw away, then become someone better than she ever gave you credit for. That's the best revenge. I started dating casually after that. Nothing serious, just reminders that I was worth more than Emily had claimed. I reconnected with old friends I'd lost touch with during the marriage. Guys who'd drifted away when Emily decided they weren't elevated enough for her new social circle. And I joined a gym. Not for vanity, but because I needed to hit something. 8 months after the divorce, Frances and I sat in a sports bar watching a game neither of us cared about. "You're doing great, man," he said, clinking his beer against mine. "Seriously. You took the worst thing that ever happened to you and used it as fuel. I'm proud of you. I still think about her sometimes." I took a long drink. "About making her regret what she did." "Of course you do, she earned that." Frances grinned. "But the best thing you can do is succeed without her. Every promotion, every achievement, every moment you're happy. That's the revenge. I wanted to believe that. Some days I did. 18 months after the divorce, I stopped at a coffee shop near my new apartment and ran straight into Juliet Anderson. "Calvin, hi." She looked genuinely pleased to see me. "How are you doing?" "Better than ever, actually." I smiled, meaning it. "New job, new life. Can't complain." That's great." She hesitated, and I saw pity flash across her face. "Look, I don't know if you've heard, but Emily's having some trouble." My heart rate picked up. "Oh?" "She made some bad investments, like, really bad." Juliet lowered her voice. "Some guy convinced her to put $5 million into a tech startup that turned out to be essentially a scam. And she's been spending money like it's infinite. Designer clothes, luxury vacations, throwing money at anyone who asks. Most of $12 million? I couldn't keep the disbelief out of my voice. In less than 2 years? She bought a condo for $3 million, spent another $1 million on renovations. The cars, the jewelry, the vacations, the investments. It adds up fast when you're trying to buy happiness." Juliet shook her head. "Between you and me, I think she's burned through most of the inheritance." "Well," I said slowly, "I hope she's enjoying it." And I meant every word. Over the following year, Calvin heard increasingly concerning rumors about Emily's financial situation through mutual acquaintances. It was a Tuesday evening, 3 years and 2 months after Emily had thrown me out of what used to be our home. I was driving back from a client meeting in the financial district, taking a route through downtown I didn't usually use because construction had blocked my normal way home. That's when I saw her. At first I wasn't sure. The woman sitting on the sidewalk, her back against a closed storefront, looked too worn, too defeated to be Emily. But as I slowed down at the red light, the shock of recognition hit me like a freight train. It was definitely her. Her hair, once meticulously styled and highlighted every 6 weeks without fail, hung limp and unwashed around a face that had lost the softness I remembered. Her clothes, a stained hoodie and jeans with holes that weren't the fashionable kind, hung off a frame that had dropped at least 30 pounds. And in front of her, propped against her knees, was a piece of cardboard with shaky handwriting. "Homeless. Anything helps. God bless." I pulled over without thinking, my hands moving on autopilot while my brain tried to process what I was seeing. My heart was pounding so hard I could hear it in my ears as I got out of my Audi, the car I'd bought 6 months ago with my promotion bonus, and walked toward her. She didn't look up at first, just stared at the sidewalk with hollow eyes that had seen too much. Emily. Her head snapped up, and I watched the recognition, then the horror, then the shame cascade across her face like dominoes falling. She scrambled to her feet, and I noticed she was shaking. "Calvin, I wasn't." "You weren't what?" I kept my voice level, controlled. "You weren't expecting me to see you like this? You weren't planning on me finding out that you pissed away $12 million and ended up on the street? Please don't." Her voice cracked. "Please don't do this." "Do what? Observe reality?" I looked her up and down deliberately. "You look different from the last time I saw you. What was it you called me? A starter husband? Someone you'd outgrown?" Tears started rolling down her cheeks, cutting tracks through the dirt on her face. "I made mistakes, I know I did. I was horrible to you and I'm sorry, I'm so sorry." "You're sorry?" I laughed and it was harsh. "You're sorry now that you're sitting on a sidewalk begging for change. Where was this sorry when you were spending my settlement money on a car for your boyfriend? Where was it when you told me I was worthless? I was wrong about everything." She was crying openly now, her whole body shaking. "You were right, Calvin. You were right about all of it. I was shallow and cruel, and I threw away the best thing I ever had because I thought money would make me happy." "And did it?" I already knew the answer, but I wanted to hear her say it. "No." The word came out as a sob. "It destroyed me. The investments, the people I trusted, the lifestyle I thought I wanted. All of it was a lie. And by the time I realized what I'd done, it was too late. I'd lost everything. I should have felt satisfaction. This was exactly the karma I'd imagined, exactly the fall from grace she'd earned. But standing there, looking at this broken woman who used to be my wife, all I felt was cold, calculating certainty. "Where are you staying?" She looked up at me, hope flickering in her eyes. I've been at a shelter when there's room. Sometimes I sleep in the park. Calvin, I know I don't deserve to ask, but get in the car. What? Get in the car, I repeated. You're not staying on the street tonight. I don't understand. She looked at me warily. Why would you help me after everything I did? Because unlike you, I'm not going to let someone I once loved sleep in a park. I walked to the passenger side and opened the door. Get in. We'll figure out the rest. She hesitated for only a moment before gathering her pathetic belongings, a backpack that looked like it had been through hell, and climbing into my car. She kept her hands folded in her lap, not touching anything, like she was afraid of contaminating my space. During the silent drive, Emily kept her hands folded in her lap, not touching anything in Calvin's car, while occasionally sniffling. My apartment was nice, not luxury, but a clear step up from where I'd been 3 years ago. 2 bedrooms, modern furnishings, a view of the city skyline. I watched Emily take it all in, saw the shame deepen on her face as she realized how far she'd fallen and how far I'd risen. The bathroom's through there, I said, pointing. Take a shower. I'll find you some clean clothes. Calvin, I don't know what to say. Then don't say anything yet. I went to my bedroom and dug out an old t-shirt and sweatpants. When I came back, she was still standing in the middle of the living room, looking lost. Go clean up, then we'll talk. She emerged 45 minutes later, her hair wet but clean, wearing my clothes that hung loosely on her thin frame. She looked younger somehow, more like the woman I'd married, and I had to remind myself of what she'd done. I'd ordered Chinese food while she showered. We sat at my kitchen table, and I watched her devour her food like she hadn't eaten in days. She probably hadn't. Thank you, she said when she'd finished. For this. For not leaving me there. I don't deserve your kindness. You're right, you don't. I leaned back in my chair. But I'm not doing this out of kindness, Emily. I'm doing this because I want something from you. Her eyes widened slightly. What do you want? The truth. All of it. I want to know exactly how you went from $12 million to homeless in 3 years. Every detail, every bad decision, every moment you realized you'd fucked up. I want to hear it all. She flinched at my tone, but nodded. Okay, you deserve that. And she told me everything. The bad investments, not just the $5 million in the fake tech startup, but a series of increasingly desperate attempts to recoup her losses. The financial advisor, who was actually just stealing from her. The luxury condo she'd bought at the peak of the market and sold at a massive loss. The cars, the clothes, the vacations to Ibiza and Monaco and Dubai. But more than the money, she told me about the loneliness. Everyone I thought was my friend disappeared once the money started running out, she said, her voice hollow. Vince left the second I couldn't fund his lifestyle anymore. The people I'd been spending time with, the ones I thought were my new social circle, they all vanished. And I realized I'd thrown away every genuine relationship I had chasing something that didn't exist. You threw away our marriage, I corrected coldly. I threw away everything. She met my eyes. You were the only real thing in my life, Calvin. You loved me when I had nothing, when I was nobody. And I repaid that by treating you like you were worthless. I don't expect you to forgive me. I don't even want you to. I just need you to know that I understand what I lost. I let the silence stretch out, watching her squirm. This was the moment I'd fantasized about. Emily broken and apologetic, finally understanding her mistake. But I wasn't done yet. Here's what's going to happen, I said finally. You're going to stay here for a while. I'll help you get back on your feet. But on my terms. Anything, she said immediately. I'll do anything. You're going to get a job. I don't care what it is. Retail, food service, whatever. But you're going to work, and you're going to start rebuilding your life through your own effort, not anyone else's money. She nodded eagerly. And you're going to face every person you wronged during your spending spree. Every friend you abandoned. Every family member you looked down on once you got rich. You're going to apologize to all of them genuinely and accept whatever response they give you. Okay. Yes. I'll do it. And finally, I leaned forward, my voice going hard. You're going to sign a document acknowledging everything you did to me during the divorce. Every lie you told, every manipulation, every moment of cruelty. You're going to put it in writing and you're going to sign it. Why? She asked, confused. Because I want a record. I want proof that you know exactly what you did and that you admit it was wrong. Consider it insurance. She hesitated for only a second before nodding. I'll sign whatever you want. Good. You can sleep in the guest room tonight. Tomorrow we start putting your life back together. The next morning, Calvin leaves Emily a list of tasks to begin her rebuilding process, starting with job applications. The next few weeks fell into a strange routine. Every morning, I'd leave Emily a list of tasks on the kitchen counter, apply to 3 jobs, write an apology letter to someone from her old life, research affordable apartments. She followed every instruction without complaint. I watched her come back from interviews with her shoulders slumped, rejection after rejection. Turns out a 3-year gap in employment history and no real work experience didn't exactly make her a hot commodity in the job market. But she kept trying, and eventually, Target hired her. I drove her to her first shift, a 6 a.m. stocking position that paid $11 an hour. She climbed out of my car looking terrified, and I felt absolutely nothing. No sympathy, no compassion. Just cold satisfaction watching her face the reality of what rebuilding from nothing actually meant. She came home 8 hours later with feet that hurt and hands that were raw from unpacking boxes. I was working in my home office when she appeared in the doorway. How was it? I asked without looking up from my laptop. Hard, she said quietly. But I did it. I didn't quit. Good. You start your apology letters tonight. The first one went to Juliet. They met at a coffee shop 2 weeks into Emily's Target employment. I insisted on driving Emily there, and I watched from my car across the street as Emily approached Juliet's table. I couldn't hear what they said, but I could read body language just fine. Emily crying. Juliet listening with arms crossed. Eventually, Juliet reached across and squeezed Emily's hand. Brief, polite, final. When Emily came back to the car, her face was blotchy from tears. She said she appreciated the apology, Emily told me, but that too much had happened. That she needed to protect herself from people who treat others like garbage the second they get money. She's smart, I said, putting the car in drive. I know. Emily's voice cracked. I would have said the same thing to someone like me. The hardest meeting was with her parents. Adam and Liz Whitlock showed up at my apartment on a Saturday afternoon, 3 weeks after Emily had moved in. I'd warned them ahead of time about Emily's situation, but seeing their daughter in person, wearing my old clothes, living in my guest room, working at Target, hit them differently. Liz hugged Emily, but it was stiff. Adam kept his distance. Let's sit, I said, gesturing to my living room. This was going to be uncomfortable, but it needed to happen. Emily told us she lost everything, Adam said once we'd all settled. His voice was controlled, but I could hear the anger underneath. We need to hear it from you too, Calvin. Is it true? Did she really spend Uncle Gerald's entire estate? Every penny, I confirmed. $12 million in 3 years. Liz made a sound like she'd been punched. Oh, Emily. Oh my God. I'm so sorry, Mom. Emily was already crying. I know I messed up, Do you have any idea how many people that money could have helped? Liz's voice rose. Your cousins who are drowning in student loans? Your Aunt Patricia who needed help with medical bills, but no, you had to spend it all on yourself. I wasn't thinking. That's exactly right. You weren't thinking. Adam leaned forward. You were too busy buying expensive cars and taking luxury vacations and pretending you were someone important. And now here you are, living off the charity of the man you divorced, the man you threw away like he was nothing. I stood in the kitchen doorway, watching the scene unfold. This was exactly what Emily needed. Not my anger, their disappointment, their judgment, the natural consequences of her choices. I know, Emily sobbed. I know I hurt everyone. I know I wasted something precious. I'm trying to make it right. Sorry doesn't bring back $12 million, Emily. Adam stood up. You made your choices. Now you live with them. We're not going to help you, Liz added, her voice shaking. You need to figure this out on your own, the way you should have from the beginning. They left without another word, without hugs, without comfort. Emily collapsed the second the door closed, her whole body shaking with sobs. They hate me. Everyone hates me. I walked over slowly and stood above her. You earned their hate. She looked up at me, mascara running down her face. But hate isn't permanent, I continued. You can earn their respect back too. It'll just take time and genuine change. Why are you doing this, Calvin? Her voice was raw. Really? You could have left me on that street. You could have laughed and driven away, but you're helping me even though I destroyed you. Why? I thought about lying, about pretending it was forgiveness or compassion. But Emily deserved the truth as much as I deserved to say it. Because watching you rebuild your life from nothing, knowing that you have to work for every single thing you used to take for granted, knowing that you'll spend years trying to regain what you threw away, that's better revenge than anything I could have planned. You're not some villain I can just write off anymore. You're a cautionary tale, and I'm making sure you learn every lesson as painfully as possible. She stared at me, and I saw the moment she understood. I wasn't her savior. I was her reckoning. I deserve that, she whispered. Yes, I agreed. You do. Emily continues working at Target for 6 weeks, saves enough for a studio apartment security deposit, and is scheduled to move out in 2 weeks when crisis strikes. My phone buzzed during a strategy meeting. Francis. I almost let it go to voicemail, but something made me step out into the hallway. Calvin, you need to come home, now. What's wrong? Emily's gone, and she took your laptop. My blood went cold. What? I stopped by your place to drop off the beer I owed you, and she was just leaving with a backpack. She looked panicked. When I went inside, your laptop was gone and... He paused. And that document she signed? The one admitting what she did, that's gone too. I hung up and made an excuse to Daniel, then drove home faster than was probably smart. Francis was right. My laptop was gone from my desk, and the folder where I'd kept Emily's signed confession had been emptied. My phone rang. Unknown number. Hello? Calvin, it's me. Emily's voice was shaking badly. Please don't be angry. I can explain. Where are you? I can't tell you. But I need you to listen. Someone approached me at work yesterday. They said they were a lawyer, and they were building a case against you for fraud and manipulation. What are you talking about? They said the document you made me sign could be used as evidence that you were abusing me, taking advantage of my vulnerable state. They said they could help me sue you for emotional distress and financial manipulation. Her voice cracked. They offered me $50,000 to testify against you. Rage built in my chest, hot and sharp. So you took my laptop and the document and ran. No, I took them to protect you. She was crying now. Calvin, they were going to subpoena everything. They were going to twist everything you did into something evil. So I took the laptop and the document, and I'm going to destroy them both. That way they can't use anything against you. Emily, that makes no sense. If you destroy that document, you're protecting yourself, not me. I know how it looks, but you have to trust me. I'm not the person I was 3 years ago. I'm not going to betray you again. She took a shaky breath. Meet me at the place where we had our first date. Tonight at 8. I'll give everything back and explain everything. Just please don't call the police. She hung up before I could respond. Francis looked at me skeptically when I told him. You're not actually going, are you? This is obviously a setup. Probably, I agreed. But I want to hear what she has to say. And I want my laptop back. Then I'm coming with you. The restaurant where Emily and I had our first date was a small Italian place that had been replaced by a Starbucks years ago. But the parking lot was still there, mostly empty in the evening darkness. Emily was waiting by the back of the lot, my laptop bag clutched in her hands. She looked terrified. I came alone like you asked, I said, walking toward her. Francis was parked across the street with instructions to call the police if anything went sideways. Now tell me what's really going on. It wasn't a real lawyer who approached me. She hugged the laptop bag to her chest. It was Vince, my ex-boyfriend. He heard somehow that I was staying with you, and he thought there might be money involved. He wanted me to help him shake you down. And you said no by stealing my property? I said no by taking the only evidence he could use against you. Her voice rose. Calvin, Vince is crazy. When I told him I wouldn't help, he threatened me. He said if I didn't cooperate, he'd make up a story about you, about us, and go to the police anyway. So I took the laptop and the document to keep them out of his hands. Why not just come to me? Why run? Because I was scared. Tears were streaming down her face. I was scared you'd think I set this up, that I was trying to con you again. And I couldn't bear it if you looked at me the way you did that first night in your apartment. Like I was something disgusting, so I ran, and I've been hiding, and I've been trying to figure out how to fix this. I studied her face, trying to determine if this was truth or another manipulation. Where's the document? She reached into the bag and pulled out the papers, still intact. It's all here. Every word. I didn't destroy it or change it, and I'm still willing to face whatever consequences come from what I did to you. But I won't let Vince hurt you because of my mistakes. Before I could respond, headlights flooded the parking lot. A car screeched to a halt, and Vince got out, his face twisted with rage. Well, isn't this touching, he snarled, slamming the door behind him. Emily, you stupid bitch, you really thought you could hide from me? Vince, just leave us alone. Emily backed up against me, her whole body trembling. I'm not helping you. I'm never helping you. You don't have a choice. He pulled something from his jacket, a gun, small but unmistakable in the parking lot's dim lighting. Both of you are going to get in my car. We're going to Calvin's bank, and he's going to withdraw everything in his accounts. And then we're all going to disappear, and no one's going to know what happened. I felt a strange calm settle over me. My heart was pounding, sure, but my head was clear. That's not going to happen, Vince. Oh, you're going to be a hero? He laughed, waving the gun between Emily and me. With what? You think I won't shoot you? You think I'm playing around here? I think you're not smart enough to realize you're already screwed. I nodded toward the street, keeping my voice steady. My brother's been recording this entire conversation from his car across the street. The police are already on their way. And even if you shoot me, you're going to spend the rest of your life in prison. Vince's eyes darted to where Francis's car was parked, and I saw the moment of panic flash across his face. It was all the opening I needed. I shoved Emily to the side, heard her hit the pavement hard but couldn't think about that, and rushed him. The gun went off, the sound deafening in the enclosed space of the parking lot, but the bullet went wide. I felt the air move past my ear, hot and close, but I didn't stop. I tackled Vince to the ground, and years of gym sessions paid off as I used every ounce of strength to pin him down. He was thrashing, trying to bring the gun around, but I slammed his wrist against the concrete until his fingers opened and the weapon skittered away. You're done, I said through gritted teeth, my knee pressed into his back. You hear me? You're done. He was still struggling, still cursing when I heard the sirens approaching. 30 seconds, that's all it took. The police arrived to find me sitting on Vince's back, my hands keeping his arms pinned while he screamed threats that meant nothing anymore. The gun was several feet away, exactly where it had landed. Emily was crying hysterically, her hands covering her mouth, her whole body shaking. And Francis was climbing out of his car across the street, his phone held up high, still recording every second. Officers, I said, my voice remarkably steady for someone who'd just been shot at. This man attempted armed robbery. My brother has the whole thing on video. 2 officers, the first one's nameplate read Officer K. Dalton, approached with weapons drawn. Sir, we need you to step back from the suspect. I stood up slowly, hands raised, and backed away. Vince immediately tried to scramble up, but Dalton and his partner had him cuffed before he made it to his knees. He's crazy, Vince shouted. He attacked me. That gun isn't even mine. Save it, the second officer said. Her nameplate read Officer M. Vasquez. We heard the dispatch. Armed robbery, assault with a deadly weapon. And apparently you've got warrants in 2 other states. You're not talking your way out of this one. Francis walked over, still holding his phone. I've got everything from the moment he pulled the gun. Clear audio, clear video. He threatened to kill them both and force a bank withdrawal. Vasquez took Francis's information while Dalton read Vince his rights. I watched them load him into the back of the patrol car, still screaming about how this was all a setup, how he was the victim. You ever see someone dig their own grave with their mouth? That's what Vince was doing. Emily had stopped crying enough to give her statement to another officer who'd arrived. She was shaking so hard she could barely hold the pen to sign the report. When the police finally cleared us to leave about 2 hours later, I walked Emily to Frances's car. She looked at me with red, swollen eyes. "You saved my life," she whispered. "I saved both our lives," I corrected. "And now Vince is going to prison for a very long time. I'm so sorry. For bringing him into this, for everything." "We'll talk about it later," I said. "Right now you need to rest." Frances drove us both back to my apartment in silence. 1 week later, Emily finished packing her belongings to move to her new studio apartment across town. Emily showed up at my apartment 1 week after Vince's arrest, her few belongings packed in 2 grocery bags and the same backpack she'd arrived with months ago. She stood in my doorway looking healthier than when I'd first found her, but still worn down by everything that had happened. "I wanted to say goodbye properly," she said. "And thank you. For everything. For helping you, or for almost getting shot?" She smiled weakly. "Both, I guess, but seriously, Calvin. Thank you for giving me a chance to become someone better. You didn't have to. You probably shouldn't have. But you did, and it changed my life." "You changed your own life," I corrected. "I just provided a safety net while you figured things out." "Still." She handed me an envelope. "This is the document I signed. I want you to keep it. Not as insurance, but as a reminder." "A reminder of what?" "That people can change, that consequences matter, and that sometimes the best revenge is helping someone understand exactly what they did wrong." She looked at me with clear eyes, no tears, no manipulation. "I'm not asking for forgiveness. I'm not asking to be friends. I just want you to know that I understand now. Everything you went through, everything you felt, I understand." I took the envelope. "What are you going to do now?" "Keep working, save money. Maybe go back to school eventually. Something practical this time, not another boutique that'll fail." She smiled. "I'm going to build a life based on who I actually am, not who I think I should be. And I'm going to spend a very long time making amends to the people I hurt." "That's a good plan." "It's your plan," she said. "The one you've been teaching me these past few months. I just finally learned to listen." She picked up her bags. "Goodbye, Calvin. I hope you find someone who deserves you. God knows I never did." I watched her walk away, and I felt something I hadn't expected. Closure. 6 months later, Daniel knocked on my office door with news that would change everything again. "Calvin, got a minute?" "Of course, what's up?" "We're opening a new division in Seattle, and I want you to run it." He grinned at my stunned expression. "Vice President of West Coast Operations. 40% raise, full relocation package, and a significant equity stake in the company. You've earned this." I accepted on the spot. The move to Seattle was exactly what I needed. New city, new opportunities, new life. I sold my apartment for a solid profit and bought a condo with a view of Puget Sound. I also started dating seriously for the first time since the divorce. Her name was Malia Green. She was a pediatrician, and she was everything Emily had never been. Kind, genuine, grounded. We'd been together 8 months when I got a message from an unknown number. It was Emily. "Calvin, I hope it's okay that I'm reaching out. I heard through mutual friends that you moved to Seattle and got a big promotion. I just wanted to say congratulations. You always deserved success, and I'm glad you're finally getting the recognition you earned. I also wanted you to know that I finished my associate's degree in accounting and got a job at a firm here. Nothing fancy, but it's honest work, and I'm proud of it. I don't expect you to respond to this. I just wanted you to know that the lessons you taught me stuck. I'm doing better. Not great, but better. And I'm finally the person I should have been all along. Thank you for that. Emily." I showed the message to Malia. "Are you going to respond?" she asked. "I don't think so," I said. "That chapter's closed. She's doing well, I'm doing well, and we don't need to be part of each other's lives anymore." "Good answer." Malia kissed me. "Though I have to say, your ex-wife going from $12 million to homeless to accountant is quite the character arc." "It's the arc she needed." I deleted the message without responding. Sometimes the best revenge is just living well and letting the other person figure out their own redemption. 5 years after Emily divorced me, I married Malia in a ceremony overlooking the Seattle waterfront. Francis was my best man, and my team from work filled the rest of the seats. It was small, intimate, and perfect. During the reception, Francis pulled me aside with a weird look on his face. "You're not going to believe this, but I just got a message from Juliet, remember her? Emily's old friend, yeah, what about her? Apparently Emily's engaged, to some accountant she works with. They're getting married next year." He paused. "She wanted you to know that Emily specifically said she didn't want you to hear about it through the grapevine. She's genuinely happy for you and hopes you're happy too." I thought about Emily, the woman who'd destroyed my life in pursuit of happiness money couldn't buy, who'd lost everything learning lessons she should have known all along, who'd spent years rebuilding herself into someone decent. "I hope she's happy too," I said, and I meant it. She earned her happy ending, it just took her a much harder road to get there. I believe stories such as this find us for a reason. If this one touches you, please subscribe. I share a new one every day. In the meantime, there are 2 stories on the screen that are even better.